Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the morning brief on Thursday, July 23rd, where we're going to invest with military precision. For those of you that are catching us on replay, please sign up to join us in the morning real time. We've got 6 of us in the squadron right now looking to build upon that. And basically, it's an investment forum where we share ideas. What you don't see on the replay is the fact that we have a chat room and a Q&A window open. So all that does not get captured, but that's primarily our means of communication with the folks in the squadron. Overall, we have 30 podcast episodes are out. Number 31 is ready to go for today, and almost 1,100 on the download. So things are trucking right along. For those that are new, make sure you use a call sign and open both the chat and Q&A windows to be able to communicate. All right, as far as our objectives today, we're going to grow our money, protect our money, and live off our money. And the particular things we're going to look at today are the private equity stocks, which is led by Blackstone Stock. You know that's my favorite, but there are other names in the space, so you can see down below under long-term investments. And we're going to talk about the Blackstone CEO, Schwarzman, who I kind of have followed. I've read his book. How he's come up with the private equity idea and how he's grown his business. And we also have several investments with Blackstone as well. All right, the flow is down below. We're going to go long, short, open, short, long. So what that means to the new folks is we're going to talk long-term investing first. Then within 10 minutes of the open, we're going to kind of get into day trading mode and look and see what's moving. As far as maybe there's a day trade there, maybe there's not. Whether you do it for the competition in the room for fun, or you do it with paper money, or actually real money, paper trading, which is where you have a brokerage account and fake money, or you do it for real money, that's all up to you. But I will call out some trades. We will surf around. We'll see what works and what didn't. And I'll talk to you about my the specific situation I'm looking for there. All right, before that, we'll start with market review, which means we're going around the world and look at the different markets around the world, and then headline review, such as right now I can just see that the market just went negative based off of the morning, but that's when we talk about the futures as well as the headlines for the day. There's our 6 long-term investments, and we talked about the day trading opportunities, and then we get in with the Q&A. So if you have questions, make sure to type those into the appropriate window. As far as contingencies, if you have any tech support issues, go to steve@ototnow.com for real-time tech support. And of course, the standard disclaimer, this is an educational presentation, so you have to do your own due diligence before you act on anything you hear in this presentation. All right, let's go up to TD Ameritrade screen. This is the SPY, S&P 500, a 1-year chart. And basically, you know how the big crash happened in March, and we've recovered nicely from that and almost getting close to new highs. We shall see, but certainly the 2 bars up there are that you see are the AI produced, that we're in an up channel, uptrend, and so far we've held that nicely. That will not last forever. Maybe it gets broken today. Who knows? But it will certainly be broken at some point in time. But so far, so good. So we're going to ride the wave. All right, let's go over to the last 5 days. And you can see that there's what I was talking about as far as the futures. Things run up nicely, kind of run up yesterday throughout the day. Gapped up significantly overnight, but it's really sold off to where we're about even with where we closed yesterday. And again, I think bebopping back and forth between green and red as far as the open. All right, let's take a look at the calendar. A lot of earnings were out between last night and this morning. Tesla's probably the biggest name. So, okay, they knew the question was coming. So they went ahead and they released GAAP earnings. So for the first time, they produced GAAP earnings. And you know what? They beat earnings by like $2 a share. So the stock is, of course, screaming higher. Let's see, 1680. So it's probably up 5% pre-market based off of that. I do think overall this is going to mark the kind of final big push for Tesla for screaming higher. I do expect profit taking personally, but we shall see. That's what keeps it interesting. Blackstone is the name we're talking about. They released earnings this morning. A slight miss on earnings, but their overall book grew by like 12%. And that's the particular game they're in private equity is money, and they have a huge cash reserve. So very attractive, and that's why they were gapping up this morning as well. And some other names we'll talk about during the headline review. All right, let's come down to our Chrome vision for CNBC.com. There you can see really the Dow and the S&P have been kind of bebopping back and forth, and the NASDAQ's been kind of solidly in the green, but it was up close to 1% earlier today. All right, in Europe, things were green last time I looked, so just a little bit in the green. Yes, Asia was mixed, so Hong Kong's up, Japan and China are down. In the bond market, not a whole lot of movement there other than the US 10 years below 0.6%, which is still incredibly low, but it's even below the normal low because it's been hovering around that 0.6%. So, all right, the US markets from yesterday, there you can take a look at the numbers. Kind of a pretty nice run up throughout the day, very strong on into the close and after hours trading. All right, the oil market. So again, down a little bit, but holding above $40 a barrel. So that's nice. And then on in the precious metals, had moved up steadily. Silver has been on fire, so it is time for it to take a little bit of a breather. And I think gold, so there's fifth day in a row it's been up, closing in on the most recent high from I think 9 years ago. So again, you can go into these names before the election. I'm not. They've already kind of run up big, but again, it's an option for you. All right, back to the pre-market, and we'll talk about some headlines. So there's a Treasury Secretary pictured and talking about 70% wage replacement. We'll see what that comes out to. So obviously now right now it's $600 a week extra for unemployment benefits. On top of the state benefits, you get the $600 from the federal government. We'll see. I think the right number is probably around $300 to $400 or so, and that will probably be extended throughout the year. So I don't know. I don't think it'll go to zero, but we should find out whenever we can. Maybe later this month, which means i.e. this week or next, or on into next month pretty early, we'll get the next stimulus package. Yep, 1 trillion is kind of the number people throwing out. I think it'll end up being a little bit more than that because there will be some pet projects kind of thrown in there as far as the relief that are going to need to be passed. All right. We can go on up higher. Again, we've talked about the Goldman seeing risk for investors. Again, it's the large stocks that are really carrying the market higher. So think the Amazons, the Apples, the Teslas. So it's not quite everybody coming along. So we'll see some airline news here down below that they reported a lot bigger losses than they were expected. All right, we can continue on up. All right, jobless claims were out this morning. 1.3 million was the expectation. 1.4 million was the actual number. There's some of the airline stuff. Southwest, $915 million loss in the quarter. Pretty impressive and not in a good way, right? And continue on up. SEC chair, I do think there's a lot more trading going on during this time, and people are sitting at home, so that's going to bring a lot more volume into the market because people have access and time to sit there and trade. Let's go ahead and go on up. You see the Twitter numbers there. Not a fan. Not going to talk about those. All right, continue up. There's an interesting one headline for the Lindsey Graham thing there. When you think of all the political races that are going on, not just the presidential race, but the Senate, House, that sort of thing. Well, these folks might not be able to get together and hold these big fundraisers like they used to, in-person kind of stuff. So it really leads to get their word out is advertising, right? So there's TV advertising, hitting up your major networks is very expensive, or you can target your advertising through Facebook. So that's why we're, one of the main reasons we're in Facebook, even though there are some folks pulling their ad dollars back, is because of the political ads that are going to be funds that are going to be flowing in. All right, let's check out a little more. There's the American Airlines. Again, I talked about this yesterday of they're the worst out there. So $2.1 billion loss. If we were going to lose an airline, it's going to be American. Pretty atrocious numbers there around associated with them. Okay, that is it. Well, as we switch into long names, let's go ahead and check out FinViz for the Blackstone Group, which is the first we're going to talk about. So the Again, private equity is the theme here. How do they make their money? They get in a bunch of cash, not unlike the special acquisition companies we've been talking about, but these are companies who do this for a living. So you send them your cash, they package it into these different private equity placements. They come up with a private equity memorandum, which is like 100 pages long, that says darn near nothing other than they can use your money for whatever they want. And when you put into Blackstone as one of their private placements, you can kind of think of it as a 7 to 10 year investment. So you put it in on January 1st of say 2020, and they're going to hold your money and invest it. So they'll call it in slowly over time. So like in the next 6 months, if you put 100,000 in, they might call 30,000. You get this capital call where you send the money in, and then they start putting it to work. And if they buy something in year 1 and sell it in year 4 of your money, they will actually keep your money and reinvest it. So all the way through, and then after 7 years, that's when they start funneling your money back to you. Again, getting you your money back first, and then after that is all the profits that you've made. So when you think of an internal rate of return on private equity stuff, you're looking around 12 to 14%. I mean, these folks this is their specialty. They're buying distressed assets, so they make a lot higher return. So it's really pretty impressive. But again, you have to be an accredited investor, and you have to be plenty okay with tying your money up for 7 to 10 years. And you have to be plenty okay with not having really any insight as to what's going on. So there's a lot of hope and faith there, which is why it's kind of reserved for the higher levels. But as you can look at Blackstone Stock here, I'm a big fan. They have fantastic leadership. They're the largest, and they've been never had a losing year as far as their real estate portion. So that includes all the way to 2007 to 2009. They actually made huge returns during that time because that's what they do. Okay, so you can see the stock was almost 65, got hit down to 35. It's been kind of a slow road up. It got above 60 there just briefly and then back down, and now marching higher today based off of today's news. As far as the distribution, they call it a dividend because that's how Finvest is set up, but it's actually a private equity distribution, which is based off a lot of the math that goes into private equity firms. Again, 3.4%. It does fluctuate, so it's not quite the solid. If you're living off your money, it's not quite the solid dividend that you're used to, where you know the exact amount coming in. You don't know until they release it at earnings what you're going to get. PE is obviously very high because it's very expensive, because that's how good they are. But overall returns on private equity you can expect to be really good over time. And again, you get a nice distribution with it. Okay, we can bring that down and look at some other private equity names on the Schwab Advisor Street Smart Edge. That upper left chart, that's Blackstone. We already talked about them. The next three are KKR, Apollo, and the Carlyle Group. They're all pretty similar into what they do, but you can see KKR, they're recovered basically above where it was for where you see Blackstone has not recovered to its pre-COVID numbers. KKR has. I still consider Blackstone best of breed though. As far as you look at Apollo Group Management, they're back above their pre-COVID drop-off high, but they went all the way down to below $20, so that's kind of a big move up. And the last one's Carlyle Group. I've been in and out of this name based off of some investments they've made, but overall that's been an underperformer compared to the rest. So those are kind of the big four. There are several smaller firms. I just brought up ORCC, which is Owl Rock Capital. And the reason I bring them up, I have not only their stock, but I also have some bonds in Owl Rock, as well as these other names. And the bonds are very steady. But the Owl Rock leadership was a spinoff, basically, not technically from a stock perspective, but the people that work at Owl Rock are former Blackstone employees that have basically left and started their own business. So they have the wherewithal and the knowledge to be able to do very well, but obviously the stock has not reflected that yet. So I've got a bunch of this, and it's been kind of an underperformer, and we shall see if we continue. Their stock, again, their bonds are safe though. The last one, if you don't want to try to pick a best of breed, you can go into the ETF. There's basically two ETFs out there for private equity investing. PSP is the first one, and then the second one is PEX. Stock charts are almost a mirror image of each other, but again, has not recovered. People are very nervous that the private equity firms could get hit from all of this, but from Blackstone this morning, and they released how much cash they have on their balance sheet. I mean, very strong, very well positioned, and are not only withstanding the the folks that aren't paying rent, all of that side, but they're also positioned to excel. So that's what I have for the private equity stuff. Let's go ahead and take a look at some names as far as long or short. And the first one we have up there, thank you. First one we have up there is Blackstone. And again, it's moving, let's see, 58 up to 58.6. So not moving higher a whole lot. So not really setting up as a day trade, but certainly something to consider. I could see that if the market stays green, or if it goes green, stays green kind of thing, I could see them being up over a 60 today. All right, another name. Let's go ahead and look at Tesla so we can get it out of our system. Obviously, gapping up there from 1592 to 1556 right now. So I'm sure we will see that number. What's that, 4% or so? We'll see that as we go around the world because it's gapping up on high volume. So that would be a long if you're interested in that. The airlines that came out this morning, let's go LUV. This would be a short. Again, best of breed in the space, but it's still an airline. It's not really gapping down much at all, but in a steady downtrend. So I wouldn't touch that one because we have AAL available to us. And they aren't really moving down a whole lot either. But those are names I would, off of headlines, if that starts to make a move down, I think that's a good short out there. Again, the airlines are widely held by the Robinhood gang, folks that bought these when they were lower. So at some point, they're going to see some profit taking because they've started to sell off. All right, let's look at Twitter. Not a believer in Twitter stock, so I stay away from it personally. But they are gapping up 37 all the way up to 38.5. So if you were to day trade this, you would want to go long. It does meet our criteria for the gap and go strategy, but not something I would necessarily touch myself. See, NEO is in play, going back up. Can't remember if I talked about this yesterday, but there's a NEO has a mobile servicing truck. Did I talk about that yesterday? All right, then I won't repeat it. Thank you. All right. There's the American, not down much, but huge volume. Don't really know what iBio is. Let's check that out. Nothing really to go off of there. So not going to touch it, but it does meet our criteria. All right, let's look at the next tab. All right, MTH, let's click on that. This is a name I've held for a long time, and then I'm now out of it, and they just crushed earnings. I got out of the housing stocks when the COVID thing hit because I was like, okay, this could correlate to the housing market, so I'm going to still steer well clear, but look at that chart. Basically a monster, right, from down to 50 all the way up to 98 or so. So it closed at 89, trading now at 97.90, and they just crushed earnings. Just huge numbers to the upside. So 9.8% on the gap up there. So we'll keep a look at it for long. I don't think it has a big move up in it. You're not going to get another 10%, I don't think, out of a home builder. But it's good news for the overall health of the market. And low volume there. So. All right, Tesla has the volume. We've already talked about their move. Danaher, let's click on that. Automated blood banking analyzer. Okay, so gapping up based off of that. They were 195, gapping up to 200 or so. Receives clearance for FDA for whatever that is. That's probably the blood banking thing. And they released earnings. So lots of news there for DHR. I don't think I would touch that as far as a trade, but we'll certainly keep an eye on that for a long play. All right, let's look at the short tab, see what we can find out here. While I'm doing that, if you can pull up, just pick a tab and put that pre-market gainers or pre-market movers, I think was the website. I want to look there as well. All right, Xilinx, low volume. BioNTech, That's kind of interesting. They were a long basically off of the news yesterday for both Pfizer and BioNTech. So BNTX, let's take a look at their chart. They meet our criteria for a short. Closed at 104, so they ran up big from 92 yesterday, opened at 92. Sorry, yesterday opened at 98, closed at around 104. The day before that, again, kind of gapped up. So yeah, it's a pretty big move high, so I could see that selling off. So it meets our criteria. So this would be a short. And let's see, pricing upsize offering for new stock, 500,000 shares, and prices it at $93 per share. So that's why it's going to gap down basically to 93. So you do have the move down. If you want to take that in BNTX, that would be a short. We put 93 in parentheses. Okay. A little low on volume for the rest of those. I'm looking at a different screen now, just looking at pre-market movers from the stock market watch to see if there's anything on here worth taking. Limelight Networks fits our criteria, 187,000 minus 8%. So let's take a look at Limelight. This is not a company I know of. Prices offering. Click on that one, see if it gives us the price. It's not jumping out at me. Click on, yeah, either of those next two. Nope. Oh, those are notes. Sorry, they're issuing some debt. It's not stock. So they closed at 669, down at 6. So again, meet our criteria, but basically don't have a headline necessarily driving that down. But we will keep an eye on that this morning. All right, another name, Ballard Power System, BLDP. Not familiar with it and no headlines to go off of. It meets the numbers, but that would be a big leap of faith there. Oblong Inc., OBLG, over 100,000 in volume, gapping down 8%. Pretty low price point, so no, wouldn't necessarily touch that either. All right, that's it that I'm seeing there. I'm looking also to see if there's any longs that jump off of this chart. A lot of names moving up big, but on a low volume. Okay, we'll go to the next tab and go back to the longs. All right, Meritage there on low volume, but a nice earnings beat. AN Auto Nation, let's see, a little bit light on the volume, but let's check that out. Okay, good quarterly results. Beat by $1. Those are really good quarterly results. Look at that chart. Good point, down at 45 all the way up now to 52. Lower expenses, looks like they bought Vroom this quarter. Yeah, well, certainly an interesting play. It's up quite a bit already, but it's right there in our basket as far as the between 5 to 10%. All right, First Energy, let's check that out. This was my short from yesterday, right? Just ring a bell. Took it short yesterday. Now it's kind of gapping back up, down to 27, up to 28. Yeah, huge investigation numbers. I certainly would not take this long. Again, yesterday it was fraud and nuclear in the same sentence. You don't want to do that, but still has litigation headlines. I would not trust that it's gapping up at all. If anything, I think it'd be a short off of that headline. I'll put it down. I'm going to write short next to it because that's what I expect, even though it is moving up a little bit. There's Danaher, which we already talked about. There's Twitter is moving up. You could take Twitter long. I just don't think it has the move in it. All right, next tab. Milestone Pharma up over 100%. Let's just see what the headline is. Heart Drug. Issuing some stock. Supraventricular tachycardia. So anyhow, wouldn't touch it because it's moved up so much. All right. U.S. Energy Group up 14%. Netgear, low volume on Netgear. Hennessy Capital. Let's check them out. HCAC. Again, not familiar with this ticker, but we'll look HCAC long. Ooh, I see it's a capital acquisition, so this could be another SPAC that's kind of standing up. I don't know that. That's me guessing that. Brainstorm Cell Therapy. We have to take a look at that. That's just a cool name. BCLI. All right, let's see what the headline is. Potential COVID drug shows promise. Preclinical, okay. First milestone. Closed at 15, up 16, so up at buck basically. All right, it's on there for just us to take a look at. Not really finding a name in love with long here. There's Tesla. Not going to touch that long. All right, don't really care for any of those names. Let's go ahead and set up our trading. I'm going to stick with an airline short, so I'm going to go with AAL. I'll tell you the stop here in a second once we get that set up. All right, AN long is what the Predator is going to take. Don't see Burner or Geach this morning. In at 2, out at 5. Tempted to take Tesla long. I think, you know, obviously I've been wrong, so who cares what I think? I hear you. I heard you all say that. But I do think this kind of marks of, okay, yep, now they're going to the S&P 500. Fantastic. This is the run. It's just like, I think there'll be a lot of profit taking. I do not see that stock even ended up higher, but whatever. I'm wrong a lot. So let's put Tesla up in the right-hand screen since we're kind of interested in that. All right, I've got a minute here to a minute and a half to figure out my stop in American. So down at 11.30, 10 cent looks kind of safe. I'm going to use 15 cents though for the, actually I'm not. I'm going to use 10 cent stop short. Let's see what the overall market's doing before I set my stop here. Yeah, I agree. That'd be a large dart throw. Okay, overall for the market, really pretty flat again, and NASDAQ is up slightly. You look at the S&P off to the left, though, trending down all morning, so I would rather take a short here for sure. So, all right, I will do AAL. Let's do a 10 cent stop. That's a little tight, but I'm comfortable with it. And I will go in at the open and out at, I'll go 7 minutes out. And put AAL short, and we are going to be good to go. The craziness of Tesla. Let's put Tesla on this right screen up here. That's TLSA, so Tesla's TSLA. All right, we got that. Look at that. That's crazy. So to me, that's a short setup, but obviously that's wrong. All right, so we see the 2 trades in there. Let's see, mine is in at the open, so we'll keep an eye on that one first. It's already dropping. I don't necessarily like that, but There we go. In at 11.27, so I have up to 37 as far as my stop. So I'll need that to kind of hold right here, otherwise I'll be out and wish I had a bigger stop, but we shall see from there. Initial move out of the S&P looks down, so that'll help my situation out. Tesla opened at 678 or 9ish or so, and it looks like it's coming in some. And AN, that's good for your entry. You're going long for AN. So that'd be good. You'll be in here in a couple minutes. So not a lot of volume in AN. So you don't see it be bopping around too much. Get that stripe down in Tesla. That's what, 25 bucks a share there in that first minute. So yeah, I think that'd have been very tough to get in on the Tesla trade. All right, in the right-hand screen, let's check some other names while we're at it. Let's just check CCX. Again, this was more me curious as to where they opened, not about where they've been. Let's check out LCA. Selling off a little bit. Let's go with Luckin Coffee. Yeah, about even there, up 3% from where it closed. And let's take a look at Nikola, NKLA. Still holding below 40, and Blink, BLNK. Continuing its move higher. Remember, had that big move higher as yesterday as well. All right, we are just a few seconds from entering the Predators trade in at 2. So there he is at 51. Looks like maybe 51, 56-ish. I'll give you 55. That works. And again, this is long. Lower stop would be 25 cents. So 55 down to 50. Let's see. Looks like it's probably going to hit it there. 51.55 minus 30, 51.25. So that kind of got knocked out right there instantly. Well, that's just striping down. Go back to the short tab here and click on AN on the right-hand side. Oh, AutoNation, that's what it was. I was blanking on what it was. So up, yeah, pretty optimistic there. Had a good beat though, so we shall see. All right, we'll keep Tesla on the right. We'll keep my trade on the left, and AutoNation we will get rid of and start looking at some other names. BX was a day trade long you could have taken. See how it's holding, so it's moving up nicely. Again, I've covered calls on BX at 60, so I'd like for it to snuggle right up to 60, but not increase 60. Yeah, that was painful. Well, you weren't in pain for very long, Predator. That was a quick kill. Tesla we already know about, not necessarily continuing up, selling off a little bit. LUV was the other airline, so we'll click on LUV. Well, there you go. How's LUV selling off more than American? So 33. If you took it at the open, if you wait 2 minutes, you're still in at 32.75, and at a quarter stop, you're about 2R there, possibly 3 if you snugged up to it, that 10-cent stop. That'd have been tough at $32 though, but it's working as a short. I don't see the airlines flipping around going long today, so I think that'll probably sell off throughout the day. All right, Twitter we were going to look at long in the middle pane. Yep, it was up 4%, kind of selling off there. I think that's about right for Twitter. I think it's not really going to go screaming long anytime soon. MTH was a long. So it's kind of thin traded. That was on thin volume, but certainly up 9% or so on the day after crushing earnings. So that's good. DHR, Danaher, was a long. Didn't really, not really working for a long there, kind of going back towards 0. All right, BNTX, this would have been a short, down to 93 based off of their earnings, or off of the release of new equity at 93. So You could even short that here, put a nice large stop in there, a dollar plus stop, and take, that way if it does get to 93 today, then at night, that'll mark your nice 3R trade. Let's look at LLNW. Ooh, I had it down as a short, so obviously it's moving up today, but it had gapped down pretty significantly. So again, no idea what they do. We looked at AutoNation. FE, First Energy, again, this was a short yesterday. It had gapped back up. I would expect it would be a short today. So at the gate, dropped pretty over $1 in the first 2 minutes there. It's kind of crawling back and setting up a little bit for another short. I think you could short that somewhere when it drops back below 27.50 or so. You could take it short and put your stop up at 27.70, and that'd be a nice setup to kind of hold it throughout the day. We shall see. HCAC was long. Get another name I'm not familiar with. That's not setting up as a long at all, so we'll get rid of that. And then last one we'll look at is the BCLI. Had that written up as a long and is not working as well. Okay, so over on the S&P, dropped down initially. Now it's marching back higher. You can see the American Airlines trade down around 2R or so. That'd be one you could kind of let cook for a while and let it fall. Let's go over to charts and we'll take a look at the larger names in the market. All right, have a couple of psychedelic names there up top. 3 of them actually for those first 3 outside of the BX option. Hey, I said I had BX covered at 60, so you can see that right there. That's a September 18th 60 strike. We don't talk about options a lot, and we don't talk about options trading at all because it's just too confusing to try to communicate what you actually do there. But obviously when the stock moves up, so does the option. All right, Tesla up 3%. Luckin in the green, 3%, nice. Blink continuing on, Clickstream up. Workhorse is a name we take a look at fairly regularly. Again, if Workhorse gets the contract for the U.S. Postal Service or a piece of it, that'll scream higher. CCX, that's a new name we're starting to talk about lately with the Churchill Capital. It's good to see that in the green. All right, let's go over, switch to the red side. BRBS is a small bank, Blue Ridge down a little bit. There's Southwest, Starbucks down, LCA, Nikola, T. Again, AT&T released earnings this morning. It's just so far gone that this stock can't get any love. It's basically tied at 30, and I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon. But overall, not a whole lot of movers huge either way this morning. So we can go back to green, and then we'll flick back to our day trading charts. I said I'd be out at minute 8, so I've got till the end of this to stay below the entry price of 11.27. Oh, I did say I was out at 7, so I'm out at 11.10. So 1.7-ish, 75R. So yay, I win on the trade there again, but I would have no problem holding that all the way down to the 3R point. Okay, let's look in the chat. So yeah, that's one thing they don't get. That's why I brought it up. Predator is, it's fun when there's a couple folks in the room to banter back and forth on the chat. But yeah, they don't see that in the replay, which would be kind of cool for them to see. But that's why I bring it out. Tempted to take Tesla. Yep. Total too volatile. Okay. All right. Let's go to our topic of the day. Then we'll come down to Wikipedia for Steve Schwarzman, and we'll close out a little bit early. So here's the CEO and founder of Blackstone. Again, largest private equity firm out there. They started in 1985, and in his book it says he started with $400,000. So I kind of like that from the initial money that I had talked to folks about managing. That's what I had. I had right around 500, about $500,000 of other people's money, if you will, when I started my other firm, and growing that all the way out. 25 million is where I'm sitting at right now. So significantly, well, he started with 400,000. Now he's up. I mean, Blackstone's in well into the multiple billions as far as the firm itself. Personal net worth, he's up to 17.2 billion. So 100th on the world's billionaires list. So overall, this guy's pretty good. His book really lays out about professional money management, and it's all about the proper use of capital and very tailored risk taking. So I liked his perspective from, and a lot of the private equity folks are like this, and Warren Buffett talks about this too. He's a don't lose money first kind of guy. So to say it again, somebody hands you 1,000, 100,000, a million, is set it up so you're not losing money first. And then once you've got them to where it's making money, then he kind of ramps up the risk as well. So when you put your money into one of the Blackstone funds, you'll see some pretty conservative stuff at first to make you wonder, hey, where's my 14% a year that you're saying I'm going to get? Well, they don't get that in year one. They kind of get it going first. And then now once it's going, that's when they take the risk. But that's also how they've never had a losing year in their real estate portfolios, because they just don't take a ton of risk if things are starting to work against them, or the market or whatever. But really interesting individual. And again, if you remember when Trump was first elected and he had the CEO forums, Schwarzman was always either right next to him or one down. I mean, he's a player at the level of the Goldman Sachs CEO and JP Morgan, at the highest levels. All right, go ahead and move on up, see what we have of interest in here. Yeah, he's a Republican, long-term friend of Donald Trump there. It's been rumored that he was going to do stuff politically. I want to say, if you go down just a little bit, I think he's 60. So he's 73 right now, so probably at the back end of what he's able to do, anything politically, and why would he? Some people ask the same of Trump. Why would he have done what he did? All right. 12.4 billion as of August 28th. So again, we saw the higher number there up above. And obviously, like any billionaire, philanthropy is a big issue for him. So he does give a lot of back and has his own scholarship program, that sort of things. Okay, so that's all I've got for you today. So again, where's the market? Let's go back to CNBC and kind of refresh and see what. All right, everything's down across the board. So could be that kind of day. And honestly, we're due for it. We really are. It has been kind of a straight move up for almost 2 to 3 weeks, kind of just inching higher. So if it's a big down day, do not sweat that at all. That's all part of it. And with that, I will let you go, and we'll see you back tomorrow morning on Friday.